What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Let's take a look at a color light heavyweight championship match that took place between Lee Anderson and Kid Norfolk. Now, Harlem couldn't wait to see these two men get it on because Lee Anderson was known as a street bully and a thug. He worked for the local number runner. He was on their payroll. So if you owed Lee Anderson any money, you'd be better sure he would find you at the local barbershop, corner stores, or he'd be knocking on your door at 3 o'clock in the morning. But Kid Norfolk was a little bit different. He was a spliffy dresser, shiny shoes, fur hat, mink coats. He was a very sharp dresser, and he was a technician in the ring. And Harlem couldn't wait to see Kid Norfolk take care of Lee Anderson, because every family had one member that would owe Lee Anderson some money. So let's take a look at these two fighters fight for the colored light heavyweight championship match right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Now, William Ward, nicknamed Kid Norfolk, was born September 20th, 1895 in Norfolk, Virginia. He died in Baltimore, Maryland. He had 118 total bouts, 86 wins, 48 knockouts, 25 losses, and he was stopped 7 times. He had 867 rounds of boxing experience. He stood 5 feet 8 inches and he weighed 165 to 185 pounds. He was managed by Leo P. Flynn. He lost 15 out of 103 bouts. Kid Norfolk would fight all comers or weight divisions, and he was never given a fair opportunity for a world championship match. And Norfolk was born in Norfolk Street in Belmar, Virginia. He moved to Panama as a teenager, and he was given a nickname Kid Norfolk after the street he was born in. He retired in 1926 at the age of 33. And studies show that William Ward had over 100 fights, and he relocated to Baltimore, Maryland, in Cambridge, where he was named Kid Norfolk, which stuck with him to his death. And Norfolk would fight such great fighters as Sam McVeigh, 20 rounds, Jeff Clark, 20 rounds, Arthur Perkley, knocked him out in the first round and the 14th round, Bill Tate, 20 rounds. These fighters outweighed Norfolk 12 to 15 pounds. He would also face fighters such as Billy Myth, Jeff Smith, Harry Greb, Jeff Blackburn, Jamaica Kid, James Tutt, Tiger Flowers, Porky Flynn, Clay Turner, Blackfoot Simmons, as well as John Lester Johnson. And of course, he would get in there with Lee Anderson. Now, Kid Norfolk would have a fighting record of 5-0 against champions. He beat all black fighters. In 1921, the Kid got his first break at the Pittsburgh Windmill. Harry Greb. And that fight went back and forth. It was a slugfest. Greb went down in the 6th round. But of course, Kid Norfolk would defeat him. And that title was not on the line. Jamaica Kid, March 2nd, 1922. Norfolk called out 6 foot, 220 Harry Greb. And Norfolk was only 5'9" and 185 pounds. He would face Jack Dempsey. And of course, Jack Dempsey refused the challenge. Kid Norfolk would knock out the following fighters: Tug Jackson 3 times, Jamaica Kid twice, and Tiger Flowers once. Tiger Flowers would be the first black middleweight champion of all times. He would defeat Harry Greb in 1926. And he would give Harry Greb a return match and defeat him again. Now, Kid Norfolk would be seen hanging out with great fighters such as Harry Wells, Panama Joe Gans, and Soldier Jones. Soldier Jones would be training a young man by the name of Walker Smith, better known as Sugar Ray Robinson. Now, Lee Anderson was born July 17, 1889, in Dillon, Georgia. He would fight out of Oakland, California. He died June 1970. He was 80 years of age at the time of his death, but he buried in Harlem. Now, he would be the colored light heavyweight champion, and he'd be the last colored heavyweight champion that would ever live. He had total bouts of 88 wins, 38 wins. So he would have 88 total bouts, 38 wins, 15 knockouts, 36 losses, and 15 draws. On May 30th, 1921, he fought the great fighters, and for the new colored light heavyweight championship matches, he would take on great individuals one by one. But he would defeat Kid Norfolk for that title shot. Now, he fought a title fight that was scheduled for Phoenix, Arizona, and Anderson won a TKO when Norfolk returned to the corner in the 9th round, beginning unable to fight, they would throw in the towel. They would fight 3 more times between 1922 and 1924, and the Kid revealed each time. Jamaica Kid fought on December 20th, 1921 at Madison Square Garden, New York, and he claimed the colored heavyweight championship of the world. January 30th, 1922, Kid Norfolk, he faced the Georgia Deacon, Tiger Flowers. Tiger Flowers was the first black middleweight champion of all times. And Tiger Flowers would eventually become the greatest and the only colored middleweight champion in 1926 when he would defeat the Pittsburgh Windmill, Harry Greb. He would win a middleweight championship and he would defend it. Now in 3 rounds, he was scheduled for 10 rounds, but he would knock his man out early. And he would vacate the title, and he would move up and challenge the colored heavyweight championship, Harry Wills, better known as the Black Panther. On May 9th, he would face Lee Anderson and challenge Tiger Flowers in Mexico for 15 rounds to determine who would become the colored light heavyweight champion. So that was for some times in Harlem. And you had so many fighters at that time. But Lee Anderson and Kid Norfolk would settle their differences in the 1920s back in Harlem. Thanks for hanging in there with me. This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series stating all great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Salute.